Hello everyone and welcome back to Dungeons & Death Battles, the series where we search for the most lethal monster in all of Dungeons & Dragons. Rules are simple, it's arena combat, combatants start 30 feet from each other, there's no fleeing, and it's a battle to the death. And I would like to say a very warm welcome to everybody for joining me back here in the very first final round of the Dungeons & Death Battles series, in which we will be witnessing two undefeated monsters, the animated armor and the imp, taking each other on in glorious D20 combat. And just like the semi-finals, this will be a best of 3 round, ensuring that we do find the unanimous victor of the current Whelpweight League. This is very much going to be a combat of speed versus brawn, so without further ado, let's roll in for some initiative, with the imp rolling in first with its +3 modifier. So imp rolling in first, again +3 on this roll, and that is a 12 + 3 for 15, and that is a pretty solid start. Let's see if the animated armor can match or beat it. So once again, rolling in for the animated armor, +0 to this, and that is a 15, which means they have drawn. So we're going to roll that in again. A very exciting start to the final round here. Now, in an actual game setting, if a draw does occur on initiative, it is usually handed to the creature that has the highest dexterity score, but considering this is a death battle and we like to keep things interesting, I think it's best that we go in for a roll-off. So imp throwing in first once again, and that is a 7 + 3 for 10. Can the animated armor outmatch that? And with a 15, once again, the animated armor is going to kick off this first round. And being a mere 30 feet away from the imp, it is going to be able to get into close combat straight away with its 25 foot of movement. And so, of course, that is what it will do. And then it is going to make 2 melee slam attacks. So rolling in with the first, again, with its +4 here, it is looking for a 9 or higher on the dice. And that is a natural 20, an incredible start for the animated armor here, snatching away both initiative and a natural 20 for the very first attack. And that, of course, is huge. That means it's rolling in with 2d6 + 2 bludgeoning damage. So let's roll that in. First attack from the animated armor here, and that is a 1 and a 3 for 4, +2 for 6. Of course, the imp's bludgeoning resistance, halving that down to just 3. That could definitely have been better for the animated armor there on the damage, but of course it does still have its second attack to swing in with. So coming in hot, but with a 3 + 4 for 7, that is not going to cut it. And it's now the imp's turn to retaliate, which of course it is going to do, and it's going to come in with its sting attack. +5 to hit on this one. Again, still looking to beat that AC of 18, so still quite a lofty roll required. Once again, looking for a 13 or higher on this roll. And a natural 20! It's only gone and matched the animated armor's energy here. You really couldn't write it. So, imp getting 2d4 + 3 here on this first critical attack. That is absolute insane luck. Oh, and they are the wrong dice. Let's go back in there. Getting too excited. Rolling in 2d4 + 3 piercing damage. And that is a big hit there. That is a 4 and a 3 for 7, +3 for 10 points of damage. Animated armor not benefiting from any resistances to piercing damage, so it takes the full brunt of that assault. Unfortunately, though, for the imp, it becomes all too aware that its poison damage is not going to do a thing to the animated armor, which is immune to poison damage and the poisoned condition. But of course, after that hit, the imp does only get 1 attack, and it is going to roll back around to the animated armor, which is going to come in with 2 more multi-attacks. Let's see if it can be just as lucky as it was that first time around. So rolling in, and that is a 6 + 4 for 10, which is not going to do it. So rolling in that second, and that is a 9 + 4 for 13, which is in fact going to do it. By the very plates of its gauntlet, it just about connects with the imp, and it is going to roll in just a single d6 + 2's worth of damage here. And with a 1 + 2 for 3, the imp is going to reduce that all the way down to just a single point of damage. It's been both an amazing start and a not very good one for the animated armor here, as we hand back over to the imp, which of course swinging in once again, looking for that same bit of luck, but with an 11 + 5 unfortunately landing on 16, it is not going to hit. And once again we roll back around to the animated armor, which is going to come in with its 2 slam attacks. Again, a 9 is just about going to cut it, as that +4 makes it up to a 13. So once again rolling in 1d6. And that is a 5 + 2 for 7. That's a much bigger hit here. And again, the imp, of course, is going to half that with its resistance, bringing that down to 3 more points of damage. Imp is getting chipped away here, and is now just left on 3 hit points. It's got to do something pretty special, pretty fast, in order to bring this round back. But of course, the animated armor does have its second attack. So rolling in. And once again, a natural 20, the second natural 20 from this first round of combat here. Animated armor really swinging in for that top spot, which does of course mean 2d6 are coming in hot. But once again, it kind of fluffs the roll a little bit. The critical bringing in a mere 1 + 2 points of damage for 3, + 2 for 5. And the imp, of course, rounding that down to a 2 once all the roundings have been taken into account, leaving it on a single hit point remaining. The imp is still in with a chance here, and it is going to roll in with yet another sting attack. but unfortunately a 7+5 is just not going to cut it. And we are going to move back around to the animated armor. Once again, coming in with that slam attack. It is loving those 9s this evening, and that is going to, of course, bring that up to a 13. And even with the resistance, the imp is not going to be able to stave off this one, but let's roll in anyway. And that is a 4+2 for 6, of course, halved down to 3, which is going to bring the imp down to 0 hit points in this first round. So as we know, these semi-final and final round battles are best of 3s, so let's reset the board and kick off once again. Rolling in initiative for the imp first in this second round. Let's see if it can equalize. So imp rolling in with its +3 to initiative. That is a 17 +3 for 20. Very, very nice roll. The animated armor is going to have to do something incredibly special to match that. Let's see if it can. An 11 +0 is not going to be it though. And that does mean that the imp is going to roll in first. And of course, with the upper hand this time, the imp is going to fly in and get off its very first sting attack. And unfortunately, a 10 +5 is not going to cut it. And it is going to stay where it is for the time being. And that does, of course, mean that the animated armor is going to swing back in with its multi-attack, 2 slam attacks aimed directly at the imp, rolling in number 1. And a 14 +4 for 18 is going to cleave right through the imp's defenses, so rolling in that first damage dice. And that is a 5 +2 for 7, which, of course, is going to get halved and rounded down to just 3 points of damage. Imp still taking a fairly hefty slam from that, leaving it on just 7 hit points after that first attack. Animated armor, of course, rolling in with its second attack. And an 18 +4 for 22, definitely going to connect. And rolling that one in as well. And that is a smaller 2 +2 for 4, halving that down again to 2 points of damage. The imp's resistance has really come in clutch during this tournament and has continued to cause opponents jip all the way into this final round. Now this is where the imp is going to start to think about things and do something a little bit more strategic. It's going to come in first with that sting attack. See if it can put some damage on the board. With a 4 +5, it is not going to be able to. However, it is going to take the calculated risk at this point to zip back out of melee range using its 40 feet of movement to escape the reach of the animated armor. And it's going to fly off out of reach of the animated armor there, of course provoking an opportunity attack from its metallic foe. So animated armor rolling in, and that is a 17 +4 for 21, so we'll roll in some damage on that one. A 1 +2 for 3, rolling that all the way down to an incredible 1 point of damage. This strategy has possibly been worth it for the imp in order to avoid getting hit by too many of those multi-attack slams. And this does now force the animated armor to dash into combat with the imp, with this action being due to its incredibly low intelligence score of 1, and the fact that it has been commanded explicitly to fight its opponent in melee combat. And it will undoubtedly obey its master's instructions until the very end, without much leeway for thinking about extra strategies. As this is going to play perfectly into the imp's hands here, as the animated armor does of course make it into melee range, unable to make an attack, having used its dash action to get there. This does of course leave it open for the imp to use its sting, so coming in with that +5 once again, and that is a 12 +5 for 17, and it's still not been able to do it, but it is going to once again use its movement to get back out of combat with the animated armor, flying around the map once again, which does once again provoke that opportunity attack. So animated armor coming in with its slam, and that is an 8 +4 for 12, which is not going to hit. The imp just manages to dip underneath that swing as it comes in straight overhead, and once again the animated armor is only going to be able to dash into combat, leaving the imp open to make a sting attack once again. So imp coming in with that +5, and another 12 is just going to miss. So once again the imp is going to skip away, using its 40 feet of movement to its advantage, its fly of course meaning that it can jump over the head of the animated armor, looking to avoid the opportunity attack, which unfortunately for the imp, an 11 +4 for 15 is going to make contact with it. Animated armor rolling in that attack, and that is a 5 +2 for 7, which is going to do 3 more points of damage, once again leaving the imp on just a single hit point. While this strategy may be working slightly, it is not going to do anything if it can't make a hit on the animated armor. But of course, the animated armor is going to dash once again back into melee range, with the imp retaliating with that sting. And that is a disappointing 4 +5 for 9. Once again, is not going to make its mark. And it is, of course, going to skip back out of melee range once again in the hope that the animated armor just swifts it and misses. Let's see if it does. And a 4 +4 for 8 is going to mean that it does indeed miss its attack, which has given the imp another opportunity to swing in. Animated armor dashing once again back into melee range. Imp going in with Old Faithful, popping in a sting attack. And after sheer attrition, it is going to make its first hit of the second round of combat with a 13 +5, bringing it all the way up to 18. Now let's see what damage the imp can put on the board. And that is maximum. That is a 4 +3 for 7 points of damage. And unlike some of the competitors we've had before, the imp has at least been able to put damage on the animated armor in every round of combat. And it is going to go for the old tried and true, moving back out of melee range, using its 40 feet of movement speed to just fly out of there. Animated armor retaliating once again with that opportunity attack. And a 7 +4 is not gonna hit. That is an 11. The Imp is starting to just dance around this thing, but whether it can keep it up long enough to make any serious impact is up to the dice to decide. But of course, that is going to provoke the animated armor's dash once again, and the Imp will return a sting as it dashes into close combat. Imp rolling in with a natural 20. Big hit there from the Imp. Let's see how much damage it can put down on the animated armor this time, as we roll in with 2d4 plus 3 piercing damage. And that is a 3 and a 1 for 4, plus that 3 for 7. Once again, putting the same amount of damage on the table, but nonetheless, still making a decent connection against the animated armor. The Imp is really holding its own and proving just why it made it to the final round. And it is, of course, going to zip back out of close combat there, and the animated armor returns once again with a slam attack as it works in its opportunity attack. And once again, the Imp is still in it. A 7 plus 4, only making 11. Which does mean that the animated armor is just going to continue on its pattern, dashing back into close combat and provoking another sting attack. Imp rolling in, but with a 3, it looks like it's missed this time. And of course, flying back out of melee range is going to once again provoke that opportunity attack. And a 16 plus 4 for 20 means that the Imp's luck has run out here. It has had an incredible run, a glorious combat against the animated armor, bringing it down to 19 hit points. But rolling in with that 1d6 plus 2, even if it's just a 1 on the damage dice, plus 2 for 3, is going to take the Imp out of the competition and is going to crown the animated armor as the very first champion of the Dungeons and Death Battles Championship League. And what a league it has been, with all of the different combatants facing off against each other in glorious D20 combat, all the way until the very end here, where the animated armor has risen through the ranks and proved itself as the best of the best. And as the crowd goes wild, cheering for their near inanimate champion, the Imp gets dragged back down to the shadows, no doubt preparing for the next time it gets to face off against its shiny opponent. And of course, I would like to say thank you very, very much to everybody for watching. It's been great fun running this series, and I've definitely learned some things as I've gone along the way doing it. I will, of course, be moving into Season 2 fairly shortly, but there is some prep that needs doing into planning and ensuring that it goes right. And if you give me a second, I'm just going to jump cam and we're going to have a little chat about it, I think. Hello everyone, and once again I'd like to say a massive thank you to everybody who has tuned into the Dungeons and Death Battles series so far. It's been really great to have you all along for the ride, and just throwing these monsters together is just a bit of fun. Gives me something to do and entertains people apparently. And with that in mind, I am very keen to get into Season 2 and of course maybe even throw in some offshoot battles here and there. Now going into Season 2, there are a few things that I want to talk about first. First things first with going into Season 2 is of course choosing the combatants. And how are we going to do this? Well, I think that we're going to have some kind of vote system set up where I'm going to give you a list of monsters that are CR2. You guys can go in, you can vote for as many as you want, and then the ones that get the highest amount of votes will then be the combatants for the next season. Of course, then we come into the issue of pairing them, and I think the best way to do this is to just put each monster into a random number generator and then just let it loose and pair them up to see which ones fight against each other. This seems to me to be the fairest way of doing it, and I think from the previous season being a little bit more haphazard in how things were set out from the start, this is going to be a much fairer and more fun way of doing it to get a really, really good outcome for the second season. And I hope you guys agree with me on that. I'll be working out a way to get this poll live very, very shortly, because I, very much like you, want to kick off this second series as quickly as possible. I do very much enjoy throwing monsters against each other in this arena-style combat, and I'm looking forward to doing it many, many more times. So once again, from me to you, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you with some kind of monster selection poll very, very soon.